Hi everyone, Onyx here. Today I wanted to present to you a incident which occurred during the final round at Watkins Glen of the Gran Turismo Manufacturer Series. In this lobby, which was a CS rated lobby, an incident, or should I say a crash out, occurred with one of the drivers, which was, to me, absolutely unbelievable. I've never seen a driver drive so extremely erratically, which prompted me to make this video, mainly to discuss this incident and what my general thoughts on, well, the behavior of this driver was, and primarily about the driving standards in Gran Turismo and maybe even sim racing as a whole at this point. Yeah. So, without further ado, let's introduce the main antagonist, shall I say, of today's video. And here he is. This French driver driving the number 11 Lamborghini was starting out in 4th place, as you can see. So this is the very first incident during lap 1, and this happened right at the entry of turn 13, where the Audi driver behind him probably misjudges his braking point and drives straight into him. Let's watch this replay from the Audi driver's perspective, and we can clearly see that he was slightly caught off guard here and will just drive straight into him. I mean, normally you'd say this is just a normal racing incident. Nobody really lost any positions, maybe one driver lost a bit of time, but what happens now is absolutely unbelievable. Going into the first corner here, the driver misses the apex completely, goes off the track, and boom, just takes the Audi driver out as he tries to pass him. I, of course, see this trying to get further up the road, and well, the driver in the pink Porsche now seizes the opportunity. Of course, some of you also saw that he now has a time penalty. However, this time penalty is probably just for the track limits at turn 1, which I don't understand why you would get a penalty specifically for that and not for, well, causing another car to drive straight into a wall, but oh well, GT7's penalty system at its best. Now, the red mist starts to ascend here as he now takes out the pink Porsche, right there, and I of course know that this guy is probably hot and will probably retaliate against anybody who tries to pass him. And since I now gotten past him, yeah, that happens. I of course lose 3 to 4 positions here, as now the older Ferrari passes me, and watching this clip again, you can tell that he immediately tries to go past me on the inside on a gap which was rapidly closing, although it has to be said that in this incident he was definitely helped by the AMG behind, which also completely misjudges the braking zone. I think this is primarily because, well, maybe lack of judgment in this case, since the AMG really missed the braking point here and basically shoved him right into me. Although it has to be said that I think that neither of them would have basically made the corner. He basically went for a gap that wasn't even there. And of course, many people argue with the old Senna quote, unfortunately, that you are no longer a racing driver if you don't go for even the smallest of gaps. I personally think that that quote is misused very often and always taken completely out of context if you are, of course, aware of the story behind it. However, at this point, after this incident, I try to get my head down and, of course, try to regain the positions that I lost from this incident. I'm not the type of driver to just retaliate against anyone who I think takes me out or anything. I'm usually fully committed to drive cleanly and respectfully, because I think that despite these incidents, if beating a driver by beating them fair and square and on pure pace is ultimately, to me, just way more rewarding than basically taking somebody out just because they passed you. Now, the Huracan driver got another penalty, this time again for track limits, at turn 1. So he was relegated back behind the AMG now, and the older Ferrari in front of me now seizes the opportunity as the Lambo driver makes a mistake. And, well, given that he is now past this driver, you can probably guess what's gonna happen next. Yeah. This definitely shows that there is absolutely no question that what this driver is doing is deliberate. Of course, he's going to miss this corner and hit the wall on the outside, which basically opens the door for the 458 behind him. Here we see he already tries to block him as he tries to go past and fails. However, he does manage to block me. Now, he immediately goes to the inside and just sends him straight into the wall. I mean, given that this is a S-rated safety lobby in this case, I think the safety rating overall, mainly in GT7, has basically lost any form of meaning. I mean, if this happens in a lobby which is supposed to be of the safest drivers, and here you see me trying to pass him again, and he basically immediately shuts the door. I mean, if you look at the point right there, you can clearly tell that that move was deliberate. And for the next couple of laps, he basically defends like his life depends on it. Now, getting back on track on what I was trying to say, I think the safety system needs to be completely overhauled. If not for this game, then mainly for GT8, whenever that comes out. Probably not when they say it's going to come out, knowing Polyphony's track record. But I think that this type of behavior, especially over the past couple of years with, of course, with the pandemic and the rise of sim racing in popularity, it has really shown how many people join and completely misunderstand that not every racing game is to be treated like Mario Kart. I mean, do you really enjoy this type of racing? I mean, in real life, if a driver would behave this way, I don't think they would continue to have a racing license. I mean, obviously. I know of cases, obviously, with other types of motorsport, like NASCAR, for example, where this type of behavior is actually, well, encouraged for the sake of entertainment. But this is just, in my opinion, completely unacceptable. And as you can see, I continue to try and pass him over the next couple of laps. And I will eventually get the move done. However, it really shows that this driver has no form of racing etiquette. And personally, I believe that Polyphony needs to make more of an effort in this department. I mean, I understand that showing drivers a video which says, "What is sportsmanship?" right before they are allowed to do any sort of competitive online racing like this, I think it's basically missing the mark. I mean, it really sucks that this is basically the stage of online racing in some of the lower ranked lobbies, which aren't completely like A+ level. And personally, I think it really needs to change. Although I think that sport mode itself should absolutely be completely redone or completely overhauled, because I think that since it basically hasn't changed since the launch of GT Sport, which is now almost 10 years ago, I think we definitely are well overdue for an online overhaul, especially when it comes to like daily races or this type of competitive racing in the Manufacturers Series or the Nations Cup. Well, to get back on track with this race, I mean, obviously, when it comes to sport mode, its popularity has of course grown with GT3 cars. I mean, if we look at motorsport at all over the world, then GT3 cars are basically everywhere, sometimes having completely replaced the traditional cars similar to DTM in many ways. I'm not really opposed to this. I think GT3 is an awesome class of racing. However, its popularity also comes with the problem that many people tend to drive very erratically. Case in point, this video. And I think primarily that Polyphony should definitely switch things up more when it comes to daily racing, and not just be the same set of Group 3, Group 4 races at the exact same tracks over and over and over again. It's just so repetitive, and I think that recently, as I now finally managed to get past the Lambo driver, recently Polyphony has made an effort to include a larger variety of cars, and I think in a game that has now over 500 different cars from all sorts of makes and models, I think just switching it up more often, giving people more options when it comes to daily racing, would really benefit everyone, especially if, similar to the race with the AE86 at Tsukuba recently, this shows that Polyphony does make an effort. Now, you may have just seen that the Lambo has just crashed into the back of the AMG, as well as just then on corner exit. Now, looking at a replay for this, basically I finally get the move done here at turn 1, finally get the overspeed, knowing that this driver will probably go wide on exit here again. It seems to be his Achilles heel, if you will. And basically at this point I'm constantly checking the mirrors. I know for a fact that this guy is probably going to try something since I've just gotten ahead of him. As you can see, I do the defensive line through the bus stop, and I do notice that I do gain a bit of time here, as of course some of you may have noticed already, but he actually has both traction and stability control on. Well, that's not going to save him from driving straight into the AMG, which has just gone off earlier. Well, too bad then. Here he just gets on marbles, accelerates way too soon, and loses a lot of time just ahead of the penalty zone. And yeah, that was basically all the incidents that have occurred during this race. Now, I'm going to jump forward a bit, and I'm going to show you that I'm not usually a very confrontational person, but this time it really interested me what this guy had to say. So, moving forward to the final lap, I can show you some screenshots of the short conversation which we had afterwards, where I basically called him out for his bad behavior. In this case, he basically started blaming everyone else, which doesn't really surprise me. I mean, if somebody shows this type of maturity, then it's highly unlikely that he sees any fault in their own behavior. Now, looking at these chat images, you can obviously see what I mean. I mean, effectively blaming me for whatever reason, even though I didn't really crash into him at all. And basically, he just blaming everyone else for his own behavior, which I just don't understand. Well, personally, I think that this type of behavior should not be encouraged at all, and we as a community should definitely do better in this regard. I mean, if we are all just doing sim racing as people who are passionate about motorsport, then we definitely need to behave better. And I also see that I think that maybe developers themselves should definitely start to make more repercussions. Well, anyway, that is the end of this video. Let me know if you found it interesting at all. Maybe if I should do more of this type of analysis stuff. And yeah, let me know what you think. I see you guys later.